Bricc Baby for the AK-47, according to Whack 100. When it came to pick up Bricc Baby for the AK-47, Whack believes that Bricc Baby struck a deal with the feds. Now, he believes that Bricc Baby got picked up by the feds for the AK-47. There's no paperwork on it. Bricc Baby don't have a court date for the feds because Bricc Baby is cooperating against Lil Durk. So when you hear him push that point so hard, understand that's where he's getting to.
In New Jersey on that Sue Surf situation sealed, so I think him and Big E was working together on that one.
Ooh, because they said, hold on.
Bricc got down. Everything we've been saying is benign is real.
Oh, I got.
Brace yourselves, because the streets are talking, the feds are moving, and one of the biggest names in music is caught in a storm that could redefine his legacy forever. Is it the end of the road? The whispers are getting louder, the evidence is piling up, and the tension is absolutely through the roof. In the gritty landscape of Chicago drill music, few names resonate with as much authenticity and influence as Lil Durk. For years, he's been a prominent voice chronicling the harsh realities of street life, love, and loss. His music, raw and unflinching, built him a massive following, a global empire, and a reputation forged in the fires of adversity. Yet that very authenticity, deeply rooted in the streets, has now collided head-on with the cold, unyielding machinery of the federal justice system, threatening to dismantle everything he's built. This isn't just another rap beef playing out online. This is a life-altering legal battle, sparked by a cycle of violence that has tragically become synonymous with certain corners of the drill scene. The current crisis stems directly from the fallout surrounding the death of his close friend and collaborator King Von Von's fatal altercation with Quando Rondo's crew in Atlanta in November 2020 sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community, igniting a bitter, long-simmering feud that, unlike many others before it, spilled blood far beyond the studio booth. This animosity...
We all thought that was a bad deal. Okay. And it wasn't until February of 2023 that Bricc Baby goes on the internet and says, I guess they can't say OTF didn't slide for King Von anymore. March, the feds come to Bricc Baby's house. I'm screaming, Bricc Baby just got picked up by the feds. What's happening? When your court date? We're under the presumption that it's an AK-47 case. But what really happened was they came there to get his cell phone. Bricc Baby called 600. He said, the feds been on me since March. We think it's an AK-47 case, right? He wakes up this morning in a panic. He goes on there and starts running his mouth. If you go in there and look at that report, number 4 is a local guy that was dropping Quando's locations. After the when Quando went back to Georgia, what did he immediately do?
Dropped his flag?
What was he claiming?
Rolling 60s.
Where Bricc Baby from?
Rolling 60s.
Who you think he checked in with?
Rolling 60s.
With who?
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
That's
the allegedly culminated in a retaliatory plot. A meticulously planned act of revenge that has now placed Durk squarely in the crosshairs of federal prosecutors. The charges he faces are chilling. Conspiracy to commit murder for hire. Federal charges are a different beast entirely from state. Charges, the resources, the investigatory power, and the potential penalties are exponentially higher. When the feds get involved, they often have been building a case for a long time, gathering evidence discreetly, piece by painful piece. This isn't something that popped up overnight. This is the culmination of an extensive investigation into a world where street codes clash violently with the law. The allegation is stark and severe that Durk, allegedly fueled by grief and a desire for retribution for Von, bankrolled and orchestrated a hit against Quando Rondo. This plot, according to the federal indictment, led directly to the death of Rondo's cousin, Lul Pabb, in August 2022 in Los Angeles. Think about the gravity of that accusation. It's not just about rap lyrics or social media disses anymore. This is about alleged real-world actions, financial transactions, and communications intended to end a life. The evidence reportedly amassed by the prosecution paints a damning picture. Detailed financial records allegedly showing payments linked to the plot. Intercepted communications that prosecutors claim reveal code.
Even though it's nothing but destruction.
Yeah, look, academics, you know, he knows my background with Durk. Like, I don't know if I talked about this with you, but me and Durk were hella cool. We did a bunch of interviews. We hung out a little bit. Like, he would hit me up, you know, to get, you know, stories on Vlad TV and so forth. Me and his brother, D-Thing, were cool, everything, right? And then we did an interview, and he had mentioned that, you know, his girl's having a baby, And he has
discussions about the scheme, and even alarming suggestions that Durk may have attempted to flee the country as the net tightened. This isn't just a legal hurdle. This is an existential threat to his career and his freedom. He's faced legal troubles before, navigated indictments and arrests, but nothing of this magnitude. This federal murder-for-hire conspiracy charge with the potential for a life sentence positions this case as the most serious legal challenge he has ever confronted, a true fight for his future. Now, let's talk about the figure swirling at the center of much of the online speculation and drama surrounding this case. Bricc Baby. He's an LA-based rapper known for his flamboyant style and online presence, who previously seemed to have an alliance, or at least a working relationship, with Lil Durk and his circle. While his name doesn't explicitly appear in the official court documents made public as being indicted, the streets, and more specifically the internet forums, are absolutely convinced he is co-conspirator 4, a figure mentioned in the indictment, but not publicly named alongside the others charged. The speculation around Bricc Baby isn't just noise. It's fueled by a confluence of factors, ranging from his proximity to the events to his own public statements and actions. Accusations against him within the online community are rampant and varied. Some theorize he somehow gave up Quando Rondo's location in Los Angeles
and buys 4 ski masks. The GPS put him at the store at the time of the purchase. There's probably cameras in the store, and they have a receipt for the actual purchase to him. He also goes and gets a bunch of guns, including a Glock with a switch, and he provides these guns to Flocka Brown Eyes and co-conspirator 2. The day of the murder. By the way, all this is accurate, right? You're not disputing any of this.
According to the defense. Co-conspirator 2.
Angeles, unknowingly or perhaps even intentionally facilitating the alleged attack. Others suggest he inadvertently leaked crucial information through his often chaotic and unfiltered interviews, or even through lines in his music, which fans dissect like cryptographic puzzles. His viral interview on the No Jumper podcast became a focal point of this scrutiny. During that conversation, Bricc Baby, in his typical provocative style, engaged in hypotheticals about snitching, joking about what someone might do if they were broke and under pressure, while he may have intended it as trolling or dark humor. These remarks, viewed through the lens of the ongoing federal investigation and the accusations against him, were immediately seized upon by fans and critics alike. They twisted his words, interpreting them as veiled confessions or admissions of disloyalty. It blurred the line between genuine commentary on street ethics and performative online antics, leaving many fans genuinely questioning his loyalty to Durk and the code of silence that is so paramount in the culture. Was he simply being himself, perhaps carelessly, or was there something more to his words and actions that aligned with the narrative of betrayal? The ambiguity, whether intentional or not, has positioned Bricc Baby as a highly suspected figure in this unfolding drama, a convenient target for the online mob searching for answers and someone to blame, but also a figure whose proximity to the alleged
Wilson through text that Wilson, Jones, and Lindsay had the same airline ticket confirmation, and Wilson messaged a friend on Instagram saying, "On my way to LA." From there, Cavant Grant allegedly purchased 4 black ski masks from a sporting goods store, but used cash to pay. But seemingly messed up when he allegedly used another OTF credit card to rent a hotel for the co-conspirators. Prosecutors say after Grant met with the co-conspirators, he gave Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and another unnamed co-conspirator firearms, including a firearm.
Events and subsequent behavior have undeniably raised questions. His situation highlights the dangerous intersection of online celebrity, street credibility, and the severe consequences of real-world actions. This conflict between Durk and Rondo represents a significant and tragic evolution in the nature of hip-hop beefs, particularly within the drill scene. Historically, while rivalries were often intense and sometimes resulted in physical altercations, the primary battleground was the music itself. Diss tracks, lyrical jabs, competing mixtapes. Think back to earlier Chicago beefs involving figures like Chief Keef and Lil Jojo. While deeply personal and reflective of underlying street tensions, the most visible and impactful exchanges were often through their songs. The tragic death of Lil Jojo was a stark example of how those tensions could spill over. But the legal ramifications for the artists involved in the lyrical back and forth were not typically on the scale we see now. Durk himself has been involved in numerous disputes throughout his career. He's traded diss tracks, been associated with rivals, and faced various legal issues related to firearms or other offenses. However, his previous beefs, while often violent in context due to the environment he comes from, rarely resulted in federal charges of this magnitude directly linked to an alleged retaliatory killing plot. This current situation is different. It's rooted in real life.
The defendants under the bus, because he's saying that Lil Durk can't have it. You got those guys, but my guy's innocent. You know, hey, it's a dirty game, man. We already seen this with O Block. They lawyers. When it comes to the end, man, they get to throwing people out the way. But Lil Durk, what Lil Durk is trying to do is Lil Durk is trying to he definitely separating himself on this shit, and he trying to get the information that the feds got. That's what Lil Durk really trying to do. Like, they trying to...
Gang affiliations, the deeply ingrained code of retaliation for fallen comrades, and a willingness, allegedly, to resort to extreme measures beyond lyrical warfare. This conflict moved from bars and songs to actual bullets on the street, leading to tangible casualties, and critically, attracting the full force of federal law enforcement attention. It's a sobering reminder that the lines between the music, the persona, and the dangerous realities they often depict are increasingly blurred, with devastating consequences. The stakes have been raised from chart positions and bragging rights to life and death, and potentially life in prison. In this age, social media isn't just a platform for artists to connect with fans. It has become a new, unpredictable street battlefield, amplifying every rumor, theory, and piece of supposed evidence related to this case. Platforms like Reddit, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube serve as echo chambers where speculation runs wild, often outpacing official reports and legal proceedings. Every snippet of information, every cryptic post from someone vaguely connected to the situation, every line from a new song is dissected, debated, and often twisted into sensationalized narratives. Bricc's Baby's viral no jumper interview is a prime example of how traditional media platforms, when combined with the rapid dissemination power of social media, can ignite a firestorm of speculation.
Clips, specifically these fan edits that weren't made by anyone on Durk's team, or Durk himself, obviously. That's crazy. Such an error requires dismissal of the indictment under the following circumstances. First, for the grand jury return an indictment based on the government's knowing presentation of a falsehood, citing United States v. Kennedy, a few other sites of cases. The court has the power to dismiss an indictment that the grand jury returned based on information the government knew at the time to be later learned to have been false. Mr. Banks does not take lightly the request that he's making of this court. Dismissal is in all cases.
Clips from the interview were shared millions of times, chopped up and recontextualized to fit pre-existing theories about his potential involvement. Or disloyalty, fans acting as amateur detectives pore over old tweets, Instagram comments, and music lyrics, searching for clues or confirmations of their biases. This constant online analysis and interpretation, often based on incomplete or inaccurate information, doesn't just influence public perception. It can create a powerful narrative that is difficult to counter, potentially even impacting potential jury pools or influencing how the case is discussed in the broader media landscape. The sheer volume of information, misinformation, and speculation online makes it incredibly challenging to discern truth from rumor, turning a complex legal case into a chaotic, often harmful online spectacle. It underscores how the digital world has become inextricably linked with the realities of street culture and the justice system, creating new layers of complexity and scrutiny for individuals like Durk and Bricc Baby. At the heart of this entire saga, and a concept that defines the very culture these artists come from, is the stark tension between the street code and the instinct for survival when facing overwhelming legal pressure. The concept of snitching, cooperating with law enforcement, or providing information that could incriminate others is perhaps the most taboo accusation one can level with.
The authentic version of this song does not contain these manipulated elements. Creating altered audio edits is easy to do through social media platforms, and such practices often result in misinformation and misrepresentation of original pieces of music and art. He declared this under the penalty of perjury. So we got both producers and engineers that worked on this saying that it was recorded before Lul Pabb was killed further verifying the timeline in which the song was made. There was another document filed, and it was an application for review or reconsideration of orders setting conditions of release or detention. This is basically Lil Durk saying, hey man, I want a new court date so that I can get out. Pretty much he wants bond, and it says right here, relief sought, release on a bond secured by approximately $900,000 in equity and real estate property, $1 million in cash, and additional third-party sureties to satisfy whatever bond amount that the court determines to be appropriate. Bond conditions can include home.
Within street culture and hip-hop, it is seen as the ultimate act of betrayal, a violation of an unwritten code of loyalty and silence that is often valued above all else. For years, Durk himself has upheld this code publicly, even directly criticizing others, most notably the rapper 6ix9ine, for cooperating with federal authorities. In their own cases, he built part of his brand on being solid, on staying silent, now facing federal charges that could result in decades. Perhaps the rest of his life in prison. That deeply ingrained street code is being put to the ultimate test, not necessarily for him, but for those around him, particularly his co-defendants. The pressure to cooperate with prosecutors to potentially receive a reduced sentence becomes immense when facing such severe penalties. For Durk, this situation presents a bitter, almost ironic echo of his past criticisms. The possibility, however speculative, that someone close to him, perhaps even co-conspirator for if the online theories hold weight, might cooperate with the government to save themselves is the very scenario he has publicly condemned. This tension between the deeply held principles of the street code and the raw, primal instinct for survival when confronted with the terrifying prospect of spending your life behind bars is a life-altering dilemma, a moral tightrope walk with potentially catastrophic consequences for everyone involved. It highlights the fundamental
One of his biggest singles that he's had to date that had incredible commercial success. Lil Durk is part of what is called the drill movement in Chicago, and so every region in the United States has a different sound when it comes to hip hop. And so Lil Durk was really at the forefront of the drill music, which is controversial. It is very rooted in gang culture. I don't think any of us involved in the music industry, entertainment industry, realize that Lil Durk would
conflict between the rules of the street and the overwhelming power of the state. The federal government's approach to this case, as indicated by the reports of the evidence gathered, appears tactical, thorough, and designed to be overwhelming. Federal prosecutors have resources far exceeding those typically available at the state level, and they often build their cases painstakingly over long periods before bringing charges. The reports of them having amassed a mountain of evidence, digital footprints, financial records, witness testimony, and intercepted communications suggest they believe they have a robust case linking Durk to the alleged murder-for-hire plot, the alleged use of sophisticated techniques, including reportedly placing informants in the cells of co-defendants, underscores the aggressive nature of the federal strategy. This isn't just about gathering obvious evidence. It's about infiltrating circles, turning associates, and finding weaknesses in the defense. The fact that Durk and his team allegedly used coded language in their communications shows an awareness of potential surveillance, an attempt to protect themselves by obscuring their intentions. However, federal investigators are highly skilled at deciphering coded language, drawing connections through patterns and context that might seem innocuous to an outsider. This strategic accumulation of evidence and the relentless pursuit of information demonstrate a calculated federal game plan aimed
that were associated with Lil Durk. Also transportation via airplanes, rental cars, and things like that, that the government was ultimately allowed the government to tie these things to him. And so in cases like this, of course, I would never recommend doing anything like this, but always remember that you are leaving a paper trail anytime you use an electronic, a cell phone, a computer, a credit card, or anything like that.
Hey, for all you business owners or anyone who wants to start a side hustle, I want to take a
at securing convictions. While using coded language might offer some perceived protection, it may not be enough to withstand the weight of a comprehensive federal investigation that combines digital forensics, financial tracking, and potentially devastating insider testimony. The prosecution seems determined to connect all the dots, presenting a narrative of a well-funded orchestrated plot, and they are employing significant resources to achieve that goal. Bricc Baby's suspected involvement also brings into focus the increasingly complex web of cross-city alliances and conflicts that characterize modern hip-hop. Traditionally, rap beefs and allegiances were often strictly regional, East Coast versus West Coast, or specific city rivalries like Chicago. However, the rise of social media, touring, and collaborations has created a more fluid landscape. Bricc Baby, as a member of the Rolling 60s Crips from Los Angeles, having a notable connection and past alliance with Lil Durk, a central figure in Chicago drill and deeply associated with the O-Block neighborhood, often linked to GD affiliations, historically rivals of Crips in other contexts, though this is a vast oversimplification of complex gang politics, highlights how these lines are blurring. His presence in Durk's circle and alleged involvement in events related to a Chicago-based beef playing out in LA illustrates the geographical spread of these conflicts. It intensifies both.
And watch out for that other RICO case that's happening in Chicago with Powell and Mac. With Powell and AJ, cause it coincides, man. It definitely coincides, man. Y'all get in the comments, let me know what y'all think. I will be going live tonight. Shout out to Made Media Magazine. Make sure you go and run up his channel. Hey, if you into smoking or smoke accessories, man, hey, go and hit up CertifiedSmoke.com, man, and check out their website. Get your accessories from CertifiedSmoke.com. Tell them Trenches News.
The potential for powerful, unexpected alliances across traditional boundaries, and conversely, the potential for betrayal and complication when individuals from different backgrounds and affiliations become entangled in each other's feuds. Bricc Baby's situation underscores how the reach of street politics and hip-hop beefs now stretches across the country, creating intricate networks of loyalty and conflict that add layers of difficulty for law enforcement and new dimensions of drama for the public. Beyond the legal maneuvering and street politics, this entire ordeal undoubtedly takes a profound mental toll on everyone involved, especially Lil Durk. His album Deep Thoughts, released amidst the escalating legal pressure, offers a glimpse into his state of mind, although it strategically avoids direct references to the specifics of the case. This likely serves as a legal safeguard, preventing prosecutors from using his lyrics as evidence against him. Yet, the album's title and themes hint at the immense emotional strain he must be under. His music often touches on the pain of loss, the complexities of street life, and the heavy burden of leadership and loyalty. The death of King Von was clearly a deeply traumatic event for Durk, a personal tragedy intertwined with his professional life. The pressure to retaliate, real or perceived, within the culture he inhabits and represents, adds another layer of psychological complexity.
Yeah, and obviously, this isn't just a murder for hire plot. Quando Rondo's cousin was actually killed in this ambush in 2022. Do you think that's why federal prosecutors are after Lil Durk too, and not just kind of the men who are allegedly accused of kind of being the trigger pullers in this case? Do you think, had Quando Rondo's cousin survived the attack or not been shot and killed, that they would be after Lil Durk too?
I think that they would have been after him regardless. Like I said, there have always been rumors in the industry with...
He's not just grieving a friend. He's navigating public expectations, internal conflict, and the terrifying reality of federal charges. His reflections on Von's death, the weight of that loss, and the surrounding violence underscore how private grief and public pressure collide in incredibly destructive ways in his world. This legal battle isn't just about courtrooms and evidence. It's about the human cost of the lifestyle and conflicts depicted in his music, forcing a public figure to confront intensely private pain and the potential consequences of actions allegedly taken in response to it. The mental and emotional toll of facing potentially life-altering charges, coupled with the constant public scrutiny and online speculation, must be immense, impacting not just his state of mind, but potentially his creative output and overall well-being. Looking back at Durk's history, it is undeniably marked by a trail of violence and legal fallout, a pattern that has tragically escalated over the years. From the death of Lil Jojo, a rival from an earlier era, to the more recent deeply felt losses like King Von and the tragic killing of FBG Duck, Durk's name and his associates have frequently appeared in connection with deadly incidents. While he hasn't always been directly charged in every instance, his proximity to these events, the narratives in his music, and the ongoing feuds have created a persistent association with violence.
I say Lil Durk is your client. What kind of defenses are you going to be using, especially in a federal trial case like this?
On a case like this, if I was Durk's attorney, my client is not as involved as the government would like them to allege. All my client does here is he's a rapper. He runs this organization, but it's an organization that's geared towards music and in the music industry. We do hear, lyrics of violence and things like that in the music industry.
The killing of FBG Duck in Chicago in 2020. Another significant figure in the city's drill scene and a rival also led to federal charges against alleged O-Block members, further highlighting the cycle of violence and the federal government's increasing intervention. The death of Lul Pabb, directly linked to the current charges against Durk, is the latest tragic chapter in this unfolding narrative. The legal fallout extends beyond criminal charges. Civil lawsuits, such as the one reportedly filed by FBG Duck's mother, alleging wrongful death and seeking to hold various individuals and entities accountable, add another layer of legal complexity and financial exposure to Durk's woes. These lawsuits, while separate from the criminal proceedings, keep the focus on the human cost of the violence and seek justice and compensation for the victims' families, ensuring that the legal entanglements surrounding Durk are multifaceted and long-lasting. This history of violence and legal trouble creates a challenging backdrop for his current federal case, as prosecutors may seek to paint a picture of a pattern of behavior, even if past incidents are not directly admissible as evidence in the current trial. So what lies ahead for Lil Durk? The path is undeniably perilous. The trial has been delayed to October 2025, a significant postponement that could work both for and against him. Delays can sometimes weaken a prosecutor.
Matters that he's tending to. He has other matters that he needs to tend to, so them trying to rope him in, just like they've been doing to other, artists in as of recently, is not something that we'd allow to happen, and we would fight that case at each and every stage.
Yeah, and I was kind of to piggyback off that answer there. It seems like for fans of Lil Durk, it does seem like, another great artist is taken up by the system, especially after appearing to get your life together, then, allegedly by your own actions, get into something like this.
Case as memories fade or evidence becomes harder to present, but they also prolong the period of uncertainty and stress for the defendant. More critically, the possibility of co-defendants cooperating with the prosecution, flipping, looms large. When facing severe federal sentences, individuals often decide to provide testimony against others in exchange for reduced charges or lighter sentences. This is a common tactic used by federal prosecutors and could be devastating for Durk's defense if someone with direct knowledge of the alleged plot decides to cooperate. The future of his career, his freedom, and his legacy now depend entirely on the outcome of this trial and potentially on the loyalty or lack thereof from those allegedly involved alongside him. Will his legal team be able to dismantle the prosecution's mountain of evidence? Will potential co-defendants remain silent? Meanwhile, Bricc Baby's image and standing within the culture hang precariously in the balance, caught between his public denials and the powerful, often unforgiving court of public opinion fueled by online speculation. This case is far from over. It's an unfolding drama with incredibly high stakes, the outcome of which will send shockwaves through the hip-hop world and the streets it represents. To stay on top of every twist and turn in this explosive case and the stories shaping the culture, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. Don't miss out on future updates.